Hi, this is Scott Dudley, and in this video we're going to take a look at how you can both import and export containers into Google Tag Manager. So I guess first of all we need to ask the question why you would even want to do this. So let's just imagine that you've gone to a lot of effort and you've created a whole lot of variables, triggers and tags in a container, and basically you want to replicate that setup but in a different Google Tag Manager account. So rather than having to create all of those variables, triggers and tags from scratch and go to all that effort, it's obviously a lot easier to be able to just duplicate what you've done by exporting a container and then importing it into the other Google Tag Manager account. So obviously it saves a lot of time. So let's have a look at how to do it. So let's just go into this dummy GTM account. It's pretty straightforward. So if we go up the top here to admin, and then we look over here under the container, and then halfway down we've got import container and export container. So to import the container, obviously just click on import container. And then it's going to ask you to choose a container file. Now the container file has to be the right file format, otherwise it's not going to accept it. So if I click on choose container file, and then if I go to downloads, and then this is the one we want up the top here, funalytics tags.json. All right, so it has to be a JSON file. We'll click open, and then we've got the option of either adding it to a new workspace or the existing workspace that we're in at the moment. So that's pretty self-explanatory, but for most setups, usually you're only going to have the one workspace. So you just choose existing and click on the workspace here. All right, so this is important. It's going to ask you to choose an import option. So you've got the choice to either overwrite or merge. And then once again, this is pretty self-explanatory, but you need to be very careful here, because if you overwrite, then as it says here, it's going to overwrite the selected workspace with the content of the imported container. So all of your tags and triggers that you've already got in there, they'll be overwritten and replaced with what you're importing in with this new container. All right, so usually what you want to do is to merge. So what that will mean is that it merges the selected workspace with the contents of the imported container. And then it gives you another two options here underneath there. You can either, this is for conflicting tags. So you can either overwrite the conflicting tags, triggers and variables, or you can rename conflicting tags, triggers and variables. So once again, pretty self-explanatory. There are probably different use cases here for where you'd want to overwrite them, where you'd want to rename them. But in general, it's probably a good idea to rename any conflicting tags so that you don't lose the original tags that you've got here as well, and you'll be able to tell the difference between the old and the new. And then it's just giving you a preview down the bottom here of what's going to happen. So you've got tags, triggers, variables and templates, and then it's going to show you under new and under each column here how many tags, triggers and variables it's going to import into this container, how many it is modified and how many it is deleted. So this is a good way just to make certain that none of your existing tags, triggers and variables are going to be deleted. So if you've got 0, 0 and 0, then you know that what you've already got in there, it's going to still be in there once you import this container. So just take a bit of time here, don't rush through this, make sure that this is doing exactly what you want it to do. So like I said, in most cases you're going to want to merge and probably rename the conflicting tags. So once you're happy with all of that, and it's probably worth mentioning as well that you can view the detailed changes under here as well. But once you're happy with all of that, you can click on confirm. And it will start doing its thing. And it has now added in all of the tags, triggers, and variables that were in that JSON file, which was previously exported from a different container. And they're all in here, and we don't have to create those from scratch. So then the other thing that we need to learn as well is how to export them. So it's pretty much the same thing. We go to admin, export container, and then choose the container workspace or version. So every time you make changes in your container, it adds a new version. So you can either choose one of the versions, or you can just choose the workspace as it is now. So if I was wanting to export what's already in the container at this very moment, then I would click on default workspace. And then it's just giving you here a list of all of the, and it tells you here under the type, whether it's a tag, a trigger, or a variable. So it gives you a list of all of these things that it's going to export from this container. And if there are things in this container that you don't want to export, then you can just uncheck them or untick them on the left-hand side here. Gives you an option to preview the JSON file as well if you wanted to, but we're just going to click on export, and it will now export the contents of this container, and you'll see that it has added the file here onto the desktop. And now this JSON file can be imported into another GTM container. So pretty straightforward once you've done this once or twice, but if you've never done it before, then it can be a little bit confusing, but hopefully that sort of makes a bit more sense. So if you've got any more questions that you'd like answered, just let me know in the comments below.